Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome to episode 35 of Down to Watch.
Are there dwarves here?
No, but I'm Kahmeela,
I'm Dan.
and we are your hosts for this podcast. This is the podcast that asks, are you down to watch? And yes, most of the time we are, because if we weren't, then I guess we wouldn't be doing a review on the movie if we weren't down to watch.
Helps that it's cold out.
Yes, it's freezing in Pittsburgh right now in single digits, and I don't like it. It's also Valentine's Day today. Happy belated Valentine's Day, because you guys are listening way after. Hopefully you are doing what you want to do on Valentine's Day. We are going to talk about movies, music, TV, and just general pop culture-ness. This episode is sponsored by Horror Pack. Horror Pack is a horror movie subscription box. You can pick from 4 different plans, the most popular being $19.24 a month for 4 horror Blu-rays or DVDs for 3 months. And those horror films are yours to keep. You have a special code for our listeners, or we have a special code for our listeners to get $3 off your first month. So just go to horrorpack.com, sign up, and use the promo code DOWNTOWATCHHP. That's Down to Watch HP. And you get yourself a treat, and you let the folks over at Horror Pack know that sponsoring us works, and then we get to keep bringing you the podcast weekly. Everybody wins. So, Dan.
Winners.
Are you ready to get into the show?
I am.
There's going to be spoilers. It's going to be lots of spoilers. And so what we're going to do today, we're doing Dope. But
we are
Dope the movie.
Yes.
It's released. It was released in 2015. Is
yeah,
that
like
correct?
last summer. No,
correct?
this is the premiere poster, and I love how expressive
Awesome.
these actors are.
I love those kids
yeah,
so much.
Who are the actors?
Well, I'm glad you asked. First of all, the plot of the movie is life changes for Malcolm, a geek who's surviving life in a tough neighborhood after a chance invitation to an underground party leads him and his friends to a Los Angeles adventure. This movie was directed by Rick Famuyiwa. I apologize, Rick, for butchering your name. And also written by Rick Famuyiwa.
Let me see.
Famuyiwa.
Famuyiwa.
Rick.
Famuyiwa.
So yes, written and directed by Rick.
Famuyiwa.
And Albert is sitting on my chair legs, and I can't move it, so I'm just kind of strapped. All right, so because this movie is still relatively young, and we don't have much personal history with it, let's talk about our personal history with 90s hip-hop music.
I was alive in the 90s.
So me personally, I enjoyed Tribe Called Quest, Kwame. I enjoyed 90s hip-hop a lot, but just to name a few, Tribe Called Quest, Kwame, Public Enemy, Eric B. Rakim, Kool Moe Dee, Moni Love, and MC Lyte. And I know you enjoyed Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, but I didn't really, I'm not saying I didn't, but most of the hip-hop that I got introduced to kind of all happened in the late 90s. A lot of it due to Scott Jarvis and his magical mixtapes, Dan's Quarter Life Crisis series. Dan's Quarter Life Crisis, volumes 1 through 9. I think there was 9 volumes. Like a lot of love, a lot of great hip-hop, a lot of great cutting-edge music that's still just now hitting mainstream, and a lot of blues, a lot of Miles Davis. So, yes, there was Tribe and all that stuff, but that was like 1999. So these 3 geeks...
So you weren't introduced to it until
Inglewood,
until after the fact.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. So you asked who these kids were.
Yes, these actors. Actors.
Let's talk about character-actor breakdown. First of all, we have Shameik Moore, who plays Malcolm. He is our main young kid in this movie. He's Malcolm. He is a geek. And he's brought up...
Good grades? Check.
Yes.
Expects to go to Harvard? Check.
He's brought up by a single mom. He never met his father. And he's just, loving life and trying to live the best that he can.
In a band? Check. With his 2 best buds? Check.
And his 2 best buds happen to be Jib, who is played by Tony Revolori, and Diggy, played by Kiersey Clemons.
Gotcha. And Jib is he plays bass in their band. They're all infatuated with the 90s.
90s
And
hip hop.
they're all in a band together called Oreo. Check.
Spelled AWREEOH, I believe.
Oreo.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
They get in trouble for doing white shit at school,
Mm-hmm.
like liking Danny Glover.
Or
There's like a list.
Donald Glover. And
Donald Glover.
Yes, and specifically, he's an actor / hip hop performer, and I forget what his hip hop name is or what else he goes by. I'm not really that familiar with him. I know him when I see him.
The checklist went by pretty fast.
Yeah, I know him when I see him, but also like manga comics and getting good grades and
applying to colleges,
right.
which is one of the huge plot arcs.
Exactly, and riding BMX bikes.
Right.
So, while these kids are, they're seniors in high school, so and they're just really, that's all they want to do. They just want to
experience life.
Yeah, play in their band.
Be different and be left alone.
Right, that's all they want, really.
Therein lies the conundrum for everyone, right?
So,
I want to be unique, but I don't want to draw attention to myself.
And they spend a lot of time watching old episodes of Yo MTV Raps.
Old VHS tapes.
Yes.
Keeping it real.
We also have Zoë Kravitz, who plays Nakia. She is the love interest for Malcolm, and also sorta, I guess she's like why all this happens to
She's
them.
definitely why he gets, as a senior in high school who is a virgin.
Right.
As that comes out, Malcolm.
Yes.
The geek. Big surprise. Anyway, he gets caught up in some neighborhood stuff. People give him a hard time about his look. Apparently fashion is a big thing. And even these thugs come step to Malcolm. They like his fashion. They're always taking his shoes. They always got to comment on what he's wearing.
Poor thing.
He's like, you probably like Will Smith. He's like, well, Summertime is a classic. and
it is. We also have Aesop Rocky, who is another hip-hop artist, and he plays Dominic.
Right.
And
so he's really who kind of... he's like, go talk to that girl. This beautiful girl who lives in the neighborhood.
Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet's gorgeous daughter.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah, if she lived around the block, you better worry about me tutoring her. He's like, go tell that girl over there that Don wants to say hello or something like that.
Right.
So he does. He goes over there and he's like, she's working on her algebra, and he's like, oh, you got to set your brackets up first. I'm like, she's like, what are you saying over there, brother? He's like, math. She's like,
But to finish out the character and actors, we also have Blake Anderson, who plays Will, who is their hippy dippy friend who they go get some help. Their hippy dippy hacker friend.
He is Act 3.
Yes. And we also have Kimberly Elise, she's not in it that often, but most of us do know her. She plays Malcolm's mom.
The bus driver.
Yes. So yeah, like you were talking about with like Nakia is basically the reason why all this stuff goes down.
Right.
Inadvertently.
Right. Dom wants to invite this cute girl, ex-girlfriend, whatever, to his birthday party. He's too much of a punk to do it, so he sends the kid who he feels is no threat to his game because of the way he dresses.
Right. And the way that Shameik plays this character, it's so sweet. It's like spot on. He's awkward, but not over the top. He's not Steve Urkel.
Right.
He's not, but you can tell there's uncomfortableness in a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
He does and says he knows he's not part of this world, of Dom's world, or even Nakia's world, really.
Right.
But
he doesn't want to leave Inglewood a virgin either.
Right. But he loves her. He's starstruck over her. Or
definitely established as the love interest.
Yes.
And he's like essentially doing her dirty work, and she invites him and his friends to the party, Dom's birthday party, because she's like, I'll go if you guys can go. And so Dom makes sure that he and his friends can go.
Right.
And, of course, they're going to go. They, debate about it. The buddies, Jib and Diggy.
And Diggy is a girl who is who's a lesbian. And Jib, is he... he's Indian. He's not... Like, Malcolm and Dig are black, but Jib is
14% African, according to Ancestry.com, which he brings up at one point in time, as they debate the use of white people using the word the N-word.
Yes, now that is a spectacular scene
Back
there.
to the base every time.
There's a spectacular scene, because we mentioned Blake Anderson plays Will, their hippie hacker friend, and he wants to say...
We'll get to that.
He wants to say nigga. And this is against everything in my everything. Yes. And I am 100%. He keeps pushing it. Why can't I say it? Why can't I say it? And Diggy, bless her heart, slaps him every time he says it.
Even after they agree that he could say it.
Even after that. And she's like, it's the principle.
And she got outvoted. And she's like, I'm George Bush. I don't care about the vote.
It's the principle of the matter. It's like, I don't care if you're not using it, in a nefarious tone. If you're not trying to be disrespectful, it's the principle. And that's where I stand on the matter myself. No, you can't. So, yeah. So
I dig it.
I dig it. I dig Diggy's ways.
You're way into Act 3, though. We're still in the setup.
Well, I want to keep from going, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened.
But what I'm trying to just keep mentioning the acts for is because you wanted to school me on how many acts there are in a movie.
Actually, in a movie.
Share with me in the audience.
There are actually, if you guys listened to the Chirac episode, you may have noticed that Dan... There
are 9 acts in that movie, as far as I'm concerned.
19 acts.
9. 3 in each act.
And it was bothersome to me because there are only 3 acts in a movie, and they're mainly broken up into Act 1 is a setup, Act 2 is the conflict, Act 3 is the resolution.
Drop that knowledge, baby.
And that's it. That's all I got to say about it. And so we're going to try to stick to... I just want everyone to know that I am aware that that's what the case is.
There were 9 acts in Chirac. And I would say 6 of them weren't needed.
All right, so the kids go to Dom's birthday party. And that's a really, I love the opening scene when they get
to get through the door, right? They're trying to get through the door. And they're like, they finally do bust in because Dom lets him in. There's this whole confrontation between Dom and the doorman because he doesn't want the doorman,
beautifully worded,
to get into his deal with the girl. He needs these kids in there.
Well, he doesn't want the doorman. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Right, and then basically it's like this gang's club because they do all their drug business in the back, and it's just a front. This whole thing anyway. So he works for Dom essentially anyway. But he's talking about Slippery Slope, and Slippery Slope works its way throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
And he's like, who knows what a slippery slope is? And of course, Malcolm does.
And he gives the correct Webster's definition of it.
Right. And he's like, and it's just so funny and awkward in that whole scene. He's like, no, I'm just reiterating. Isn't that what I said? He's like, yes, I was just reiterating.
Yes, the whole point of the slippery slope gets brought up because the doorman does not want to let these kids in. They're under 21. Right. But Dom comes in and is like, they're cool. And then the guy is arguing with Dom about it. And Dom's like, yo, you can't be talking to me any kind of way in front of my boys because now I'm going to have to fuck you up.
Right.
And the doorman's like, could you not?
Right. And he's like, no, that would cause a slippery slope.
Right. You're setting a bad example.
Right. It's like he just learned that word that day, apparently, from Anyway, we'll get into the slippery slope later. Anyway, Dom lets him in. He's like, all right, let's get a round of shots. Malcolm sees his love interest dancing, and this seems to be an important scene in every movie. Establish the love interest. The love interest somehow dances. It could be alone in the shower. It could be anywhere, but it happens almost every time a love interest is established.
Is that how men fall in love with their chosen one? Is that what it is? Is that the moment that they hone in on? They see
I think that it has to be like a 1-2. It has to be like love interest established, then
she
dancing.
Dances, and then it's like, oh yeah, dances. She's the one.
Yeah. So don't always dance on the first date unless you want some dude following you around trying to tutor you and stuff.
I don't recall ever. Yeah, I don't think I ever danced before you decided that you loved me. I don't think. I don't remember a lot.
It might have happened. I think I have pictures.
Oh,
definitely
we're talking about on
dancing.
the record.
We are talking about on the record.
On the record, we were talking about.
You got your arm up
It is
like
absolutely on the record.
Yes, you wear your little gray hat.
There was a
purple
party.
eye shade.
There was a party called On the Record that before Dan and I were official.
And you were cutting up a rug. Anyway, round of shots, right? So they all do, I think, what is probably their first shot. Except
And
maybe not
Jib gets
Diggy, but Malcolm and Jib for sure. Jib looks like he's going to die, which is great. The actor that played Jib did great. I mean, all of them did great, but he just, that particular scene where he's dying and then the floodgate opens, right? And then it's just like one after the other, and then he regurgitates, and then he keeps on going, and then he's dancing on the dance floor with Diggy. You know, these are like the best wingmen you could ever have. Malcolm gets up his nerve, right?
Yes.
And, you know, then one thing leads to another. Dope peddlers establish that they're selling
Molly Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald.
Yes, at first I thought that they were calling it that. But yeah, at first I saw it, and this is how out of the loop I am. I saw it and I assumed it was Coke because it was white powder.
White powder in a bag, yeah.
And I just thought they call it Molly Ringwald because she's like the whitest
so white.
of the white girls
Right?
you could get.
That is totally legit.
But it's actually Molly.
MDM something
ecstasy is what the drug is that they have. Just, and I didn't realize it came in forms like that either. It's just powdered like that. And there was a lot of it, like bricks of it.
It was clearly for it was still to be broken down into pills, which is part of the plot line later, like
Gotcha.
or whatever.
Right.
They're like, that's a hell of a lot.
Right. So they get this drug deal starts to go down, and then somebody comes in and tries to rob
him. Right, exactly. Gunfight ensues. All hell breaks loose.
And old dude Dom stashes the drugs
in Malcolm's
backpack.
Unbeknownst to Malcolm,
yes.
right? And it's so funny because he goes to school the next day with like drugs and guns in his bag.
He's like,
the thing goes off. Right, the security alarm goes off. The dog's barking. The security guy's like, "Shit, everything's broke."
It's like there's no way this kid is doing anything.
Right.
They've established that his reputation is just like straight up geek, and there's no way this kid is doing anything wrong.
Right.
There's something wrong with the system.
Before he makes it out of there, though, he does save the love interest. Right,
Yes.
You establish the normal plot arcs.
Right.
For those that want to write movies.
And this is a really great scene.
When she drops him off. Yeah.
They're sitting in front of his house, and he's talking to her a little bit. You know, they're talking like normal, and she's not treating him like a kid. She's not treating him like a geek. She's just talking to him. And
although she's clearly graduated.
Yeah. Well,
or
no.
should have.
Yeah,
she's working
older.
on her GED.
She's at least 21.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're just talking, and he lets on like how the other kids look at him like he's not that normal black guy, you know, because he's very clear on what black people don't do and don't do, and he's into so many things that black people quote unquote don't do.
Right. His thesis is you shouldn't settle for what's expected.
And so she's like, you know, she said she thinks that he's trying to like, you know, make a little play for her right quick, to try to cock block Dom, and she's like, oh, you know, I bet all the little girls are basically like falling all over you, asking you to prom. And he's like, are you making fun of me? He looks so hurt. His face is so heartbroken when he says that. And it's throughout this movie, there's so many times I just want to hug Malcolm. It's like, it's okay. It's okay, buddy. Come here.
Aw. He broke your heart. He got you.
Yeah.
Good writing. Good directing.
Absolutely. So
he asked her to prom. She's like, no. He's like, well, what if I tutor you and help you study? Would you go to prom with me then? She's like, I'll think about it. So they establish this kind of plot arc with them.
Yeah, because she's trying to get her GED, and if she passes, and she also made a point that she missed her own prom, but she wasn't
sore about that.
Yeah, she was mad because she had to miss Six Flags the next day.
Yeah, that sounds like something he would say. Like somebody stole that from Kahmeela's diary.
It's like I didn't care about prom. It's the amusement park after the fact that I didn't get to go to.
So nonetheless, it's a problem for this kid when he discovers that Molly came to school with him, armed and dangerous, and then he goes to reveal to his friends, who are cool as hell. Like, you know, they struggle with it too. Like, they were good friends, but they ultimately decided
because
they all wanted to go to the party. That's how they got into this trouble in the first place.
That's a good group of friends right there. That threesome. I love those kids.
Reasonable though.
Right.
Very reasonable. Anyway, his phone rings. There's also a phone stash in his bag, Oh, and then just tomfoolery ensues. You don't know
Yeah,
who to
seriously,
trust.
like this whole thing that going to that party has just like
Give me my lunch. And there are
erupted.
bologna sandwiches in the bag. Is that what he's talking about?
I don't know.
Took my lunch.
I think he's just going too far with the
With the codes.
Yes. He's very nervous. He doesn't know what's happening right now.
Right? There's cheese on my sandwich.
It's like, yes. It's like,
What?
what are you talking about? Yeah, so just the fact of the price that they ended up having to pay just to go to this party
Right.
was just over the top.
Oh, yeah.
They gets the phone call from somebody who says that stuff is his. They make a plan to go drop that stuff off with this dude. Then he gets the phone call from Dom, who's in county, locked up, and he's like, that person is not the right person to give
Right.
this to.
I just need you to trust me now.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
now, okay. So
Go to AJ's place, right?
Yes.
And then, first of all,
Oh,
there's an escape scene brought to you by iPhone technology. Right? Because the phone was an iPhone. This guy has his
Yes.
laptop, his tablet out. It was so funny.
the kids are like, how does he
Gangster.
know where we are?
They pull, and Malcolm, brilliant, thinking on his feet on his bike in this case, huffing
Right.
and puffing, like, okay, it must, how can they keep following us? How they keep finding
Right.
us? Figures out it's the phone. There was a phone on the bus, right?
Right.
Totally Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Bright kid.
And that's what you get
deserves
from
to go to Harvard.
Geeks, right?
Right?
They will outsmart you.
Absolutely. And then they go to AJ's, right? AJ's not home right now, but his
Wait.
two dumbass kids are.
Yes. Yes. That's right. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm just going to call him AJ Jr. I know that's not his name, but
Right.
we'll just call him AJ Jr.
His kids are a fucking
And Lily.
wreck.
Lily comes to the door, like, practically naked.
Basically naked.
The kids didn't want to, well, all three kids at first didn't want to get in the house, and then Lily takes out the rest of her clothes, and then Malcolm and Diggy want to come
Most
in.
definitely.
Right? Jib's still ready to run. He's like, forget this. No, this can't be good.
So they go in and they start talking to AJ, and this kid is a wannabe gangster. Like they live in
Right.
this
And they're like,
beautiful
do you have a
house.
speech impediment, or are you trying to be gangster? Like, we can't tell. And he's like, he couldn't tell either.
So they live in this in like the extremely rich part of town. The house is gorgeous. He's got like he's set up his own home studio, recording studio,
Right, right.
and he
His
makes.
lyrics are horrible because he has a speech impediment.
It's is that what it is? It's not a
He
speech.
mixes his soft C's.
Because he's
this
a-
is the
he's a
gang.
wanna-
This is Jib and Diggy dissected this guy
love it.
in front of him.
I love it.
And like, you seem to mix your soft C's with your B's because you're saying burial. Are you trying to say cereal? He's like, yeah.
And he says he does
That's
this
how
because
blood
he
I
hates,
am.
Yeah.
Or crip I am. Or something.
And I was confused after the fact because I thought that meant that he
He wants to
identified
be
as a
Crenshaw.
blood.
He identified himself as Crenshaw Mafia.
Right. And he wanted to be a blood, so he hates Crips supposedly, which I am still confused as that's still a thing in 2015
Right?
that we're
I guess
still
this guy was in love with the 90s too, in
Let's
his
say
own
Crips.
way.
Oh, because we still had those kids that were like in the school. They were all wearing red.
Right.
And the guy who comes to get him, he's wearing the red cap and he calls him blood or something. I don't know. But anyway, yes, this kid basically has like this speech impediment.
Right. Want to be gangster. And then they record them and they play this awesome song, "Can't Bring Me Down." I'm
Love
in a
it.
good mood, and it's a great song. The music throughout this whole thing is awesome. It's amazing. I can't wait to have the soundtrack.
We have it.
We have the soundtrack. Love it.
Which
why
was
I can't wait.
Which was, produced by Pharrell, like all the
Oh, nice.
original music.
Nice.
That
nice.
song produced by Pharrell.
Well, there's this point in time in which the hangout is going on at AJ's house, in which Jib brings up chili cheese fries, and Lily decides to go skinny dipping, and the kids go, except Malcolm decides to hang back with Lily
Mhm.
to go get chili cheese fries, right?
Ooh.
The group splits in two,
Never a good idea.
right?
Don't leave a man
Lily
behind.
somehow gets into the bag of death of Molly
Mm.
Ringwald. She gets really high, tries to have sex with Malcolm, throws up on his face
like in
instead,
his mouth.
and laughs hysterically afterwards. Like, she's just the funniest thing she ever did. And it was hilarious.
Oh God, it was awful. And then in the middle of all this, Malcolm remembers he has a college interview that he was
With
supposed to
puke
be at.
still on his face. He gets to college. He's missing his college interview with Mr. Bailey. He's like,
Mr. Bailey called him. Yeah, is that
yeah,
his
his
counselor?
secretary.
Oh. Because he
Mr.
has
Bailey
a meeting
is-
with Mr. Jacoby.
Okay, Mr. Jacoby then.
Okay.
All right, yeah, so Mr. Bailey, anyway, he gets the bad phone call. Lily in her enlightened state, decides that she can drive him there.
How the
Malcolm, having few
can barely
choices,
walk.
takes it. And then there's this great scene where Tribe Called Quest, What's the Scenario is playing, and simultaneously the chili cheese fry run, which is going horribly wrong because the guys in the El Camino who with the iPhone have
About the lunch.
have right who had a problem with lunch are now carrying the lunch argument into the fast food restaurant,
Guess.
and Malcolm and Lily are trying to drive the car to the interview, and Lily's throwing up, passing out.
And at some point, she decides she has to pee.
At not a Starbucks, a $7 coffee.
She hops out of the car, leaves it in traffic, and just runs across a busy street and pees in the bushes of a $7 coffee
right in
shop.
front of a customer who is just trying to enjoy his vanilla caramel latte and his pound cake. How am I supposed to enjoy my pound cake with somebody pissing right there?
So Malcolm does what he should have done in the first place and takes the car, leaves Lily there, and drives off to his interview.
Right.
And he pulls in, meets
Mr. Alumni.
Mr. Harvard man, who comes from the bottoms, is what they call Malcolm's neighborhood. He's from
Inglewood.
the same neighborhood, and Austin Jacoby is his name. And Malcolm's sitting there waiting for Mr. Jacoby to come in and looks around at some photos and sees Dom in one of the photos. And then he looks and sees AJ
The two crazy
and
kids.
Lily in
Yeah,
one of the
right.
photos. And he puts two and two together and is like, oh. So this is the
Yeah.
man that he
Right.
was supposed to deliver these drugs to.
Right.
This is AJ and Lily's dad and Dom's mentor.
Right. And when he reveals this to, now we know him to be AJ,
Mm-hmm.
AJ gives him some horrible Amazon.com analogy that Malcolm easily dissects into nothingness.
That you're wrong.
And he's like,
Everything you're
and
saying.
he's like, he's like, first of all, I would not order a Malcolm Moore CD off of Amazon. Nobody orders CDs anymore.
Yes, that was the argument back. Was that
Right.
nobody orders? We just download the music. Basically, AJ is trying to tell him that now it is Malcolm's job to move the dope.
Because he has to maintain his rep, and if he starts to let his rep slip, that's a slippery slope. And now we understand where Dom
Where
got
Dom
slippery
gets it.
slope from.
I'm
Right.
still okay, but why? How are they putting all of this on Malcolm? Why? It's not his fault.
It's just a lot of bull. Yeah.
Everybody's lazy.
It's
Everybody's
just, it's just the point of, like, you could be the wrong place, wrong time, and now your whole day is turned upside down. That was kind of the theme of Friday, too.
right.
It's like, how do you get fired on your day off, Craig? And now next thing you know, he's got, like, somebody wants to kill him because of some stuff Smokey did. And so this is kind of like Friday, but on a serious tip.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And this kid's, exceptional. In any event, he has this nice little dreamscape on the bus ride home after learning that the Harvard man expects him to sell all this dope. And I guess that's when we meet William Sherwood III.
William Sherwood III.
That is their geeked out friend.
Oh, that's his full name.
Yes.
Gotcha. So they get the kids get the bright idea to go ahead and sell the drugs on the black market.
Using a Torque browser, if that's a real thing.
Bitcoins. Oh, a Tor browser? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a real
They're
thing.
like through a Bandcamp connection. The geek power throughout, right?
Yeah.
It is through their Bandcamp connection that they know how to do this, that they could build the architecture to create a dark market website to sell drugs.
Yeah. And you know what? I totally believe it. I believe that
Right,
these
probably
kids...
all of that is true.
Yeah, it's
right?
probably all factual.
I will never know.
Yeah, I have no idea for a fact, but I am pretty sure that that's all true. I believe it. Just because kids these days can do just about anything.
Right.
And I know Bitcoin...
And this William Sherwood III, you might imagine, is white.
Mhm.
And this is where they get into the holy N-word dissertation,
Right.
is at this point in time in the movie.
But he's also...
And this is when they question Jib's credentials. And it's never really clear what his credentials are. He just breaks
Right.
out with, I'm 14% African, according to his Ancestry.com.
That's why I could say
Take it.
And they're like, fine. That works. Well, it's kind of the same as your friend.
Hassan.
Yes.
Trinidadian, who
Yeah.
is like, Trinidad, like Cuba was slave trade. So it's like everybody was there.
Right.
But it's mostly, Indian, Asian,
Exactly.
and African in Trinidad, and African and South American and Cuba. And boom, there you got it. So they definitely have credentials.
Right. So these kids are selling these drugs in the dark web with bitcoins and social media, and for some reason it works. Well, no, it works for exactly the reason why you think it was. Because they create a buzz, they create names and cute memes.
Oh yeah, they brand it, and they use their whole geek power to create geek cover. Because they're like, oh, we're entering a Google Science Fair, and that's where they basically pill up the drugs. And then they use the completely empty computer lab to do all their online distribution and orders.
So this is like also kind of a testament as to, wow, the whatever school system that they are in, nobody was using the computer lab, the science lab. Like these kids are the ones that.
But it doesn't work without the private school system, because William Sherwood III throws a party with all his old prep school friends to sell the drugs and to make this viral social media sensation and montage. Right?
Yes, they start calling it Lily.
Right.
Because
Lily got on the news for peeing in front of the $7 while the guy was trying to eat his pound cake.
And one person was like, "Yeah, I need to contact her and find out what she was on."
Right.
So. There's that. That's how these kids are thinking these days.
Well, at least in this movie.
You know what? I wouldn't put it past them. Just as smart as they are, they're just as dumb too. You know, sorry kids out there. That's just the way that
they know how to use Bitcoin and torque browsers.
Yeah,
be nice to them, honey. She just needs some coffee.
There's just
not
certain
usually
things.
that judgmental. Future children of America.
There's just certain things that they should not do, and it just boggles my mind that they see somebody acting a fool and peeing in public in a bush in the middle of the day, and I need to have whatever she's having.
That's what the whole breakdown of the director was for me. It was like, Holidaysburg was such a great movie, but that freak show Sean won.
The other one, yeah.
With the,
Right, I don't even remember what. It's not cool or something. I don't know.
It was horrible. Anyway.
But
we could go on and on about how we're getting old.
Right.
And these young kids just don't make sense to us.
Speaking of old, have you ever had to use a Bitcoin for anything? Have you had the opportunity to?
I don't trust it.
I don't either. I know. I barely am fully confident in the debit card system.
Well, when Bitcoin first came around, I'm like, I'll never do that much online shopping. But as I get older, the more online shopping I do,
and the less I like to go out in the public.
What I don't know, there needs to be more consumer education about Bitcoin and how it might help with online transactions. But the world's in this gigantic technology lurch where our ability to account for everything hasn't caught up with our ability to transact because of the new technology. So it'll all catch up. I wait for everything to stabilize, and then I'll get involved in those markets. But right now, we're going to bury gold in a place where nobody knows. You're going to have a wooden leg and a Xander eye.
Xander eye.
That's what I'm calling eye patches now. Anyway, Malcolm apparently figures out, with the help of William, how to, do all these transactions online through Bitcoin.
And they're blowing
off the market, converts 10% of it into cash, and goes back to his Harvard interview guy and leverages the whole scene. That's the resolution. He's like, you've got $97,000 sitting in your Bitcoin account, but if you were to pull it down, to pull it out and put it into your bank, it might be traceable. It might be traceable because I have all the information, basically, on how to alert the FBI or whatever to this.
Right.
We linked it to your bank account. This is your bank account number, right, AJ? And AJ's like, huh? He's like, maybe you want to update your firewall. I know a guy pretty familiar with your system. Right, exactly.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Right, exactly. Did you learn nothing? Now you're going to have to go to prom with one of these geeks. Clear our karma.
Yeah, so Malcolm plays Jacoby and wins, and it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful situation. And he also tells him, you're going to make sure that you do everything in your power to make sure that I get into Harvard.
Right. And this is where he rewrites his Harvard essay. His first Harvard essay, just so you know, was Ice Cube's Good Day.
Was his thesis on Ice Cube's Good Day?
Yeah. He tells his guidance counselor, Mr.
I'd
Bailey,
kind of like to read that.
if Neil deGrasse was writing about Ice Cube, this is what it'd be like. But then he rewrites it. And he literally is on a soapbox in the movie, and figuratively, about why do I want to go to Harvard. And, because they show him in all these scenes where he's on a soapbox, like with a microphone, talking in grocery store parking lots. Like they're basically like trying to get the message out. Don't settle for what's expected. It's okay to be different. Strive to be different.
Let me tell you about two students.
Student A is a straight A student who lives in the suburbs of Los Angeles. He plays in a punk band with his best friends. He loves to skateboard and riding his BMX bike. His favorite TV show is Game of Thrones, and his favorite band is the Thermals. He's a 90s hip-hop geek. Student B goes to an underfunded school where teachers who'd rather not be there teach kids who really don't care. He lives with a single mother, doesn't know his father, and has sold dope. Now close your eyes. Picture each of these kids and tell me what you see. Be honest. No one's gonna judge you. Now open your eyes.
So am I student A or student B? Am I a geek or a menace? For most of my life, I've been caught in between who I really am and how I'm perceived, in between categories and definition. I don't fit in. And I used to think that that was a curse, but now I'm slowly starting to see maybe it's a blessing. See, when you don't fit in, you're forced to see the world from many different angles and points of view. You gain knowledge, life lessons from disparate people and places. And those lessons, for better or worse, have shaped me. So who am I? Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Malcolm Adekambi. I'm a straight A student with nearly perfect SAT scores. I taught myself how to play guitar and read music. I have stellar recommendations and diverse extracurricular activities. I'm a Google Science Fair participant, and in 3 weeks, I helped make over $100,000 for an online business. So why do I want to attend Harvard? If I was white, would you even have to ask me that question?
And that scene seems to always get you. You seem to cry a little bit when he's like, why do I want to go to Harvard?
Well, yeah, because it's like, it's something that I relate to, just because of the fact that, he talks about there are two students. There's student A, he likes to ride his skateboard. His favorite show is Game of Thrones, and he likes to do something else. The student B has sold dope. He lives in the bottoms and, doesn't know who his father is. And then he's like, close your eyes, tell me which one I am, or what student you see or whatever, now which one I am. So it's basically just kind of like people are always expecting, because of what race you are, what color you are, where you grew up, they expect you to be in this certain box. And that's just kind of something that I've always been kind of pushing against my whole life. I spent a good portion of my childhood or my adolescence not really accepting who I am and trying to push down who I really am, because nobody wanted me to be that person. There was certain things I enjoyed then I were considered too white. And the way that I spoke proper, I speak proper, and no one wanted to accept that. No one wanted to believe that. I went to a predominantly white school. I went to private school, but yet I have also lived in the projects. I know what it's like to have grown up on welfare. I know what it's like to have a single mom, but I also know what it's like not to really want for anything. We always had clothes on our backs. We always had food in our bellies. We always had a roof over our head. But there were just certain things that were expected of me. And even
from your peer group?
From my peer group.
Teachers?
From teachers, from even my mother, even my family. There are certain things that were even still considered too white. And there was even a point, there was an age, I got probably when I was early 20s, when I was just early 20s, late teens, where I would go on dates or meet just random dudes or whatnot, and they would be surprised to find out that I did not have children, that I hadn't had a child yet at that point in time. So that's
In your
just like
20s?
yeah, like early 20s, late teens, like 18, 19, 20, 21. Like, oh my God, you don't have a kid, really? Like this is so. It's just things like that.
Is this your strange way of asking me if I'm a virgin? Right.
So,
Well, now you got me to take home to mama and be like, at least I'm not that white. Look at Dad. Wait, let me turn off the lights. This is my favorite. Pull up your pant legs, Dad. Like, you can still see them.
and there was also that too. Like I have dated black men, and people they wanted to look down on me when I chose to marry a white man or dating predominantly white men or men outside of my race. It's not because I don't love my black men, my black brothers. It's the fact that the experiences that I have had in dating with black men were, they never knew how to approach me. It was always like, hey ma, what's up ma? How you doing ma? That kind of bullshit, and I didn't like that. I don't like being approached
Who's
like that.
mom?
Right. I know. Come here, girl. Come here. Stop. Why you frowning, girl? Look at that. Ooh, look at that ass. That kind of thing. And that's not the way to approach me. That's not how I enjoy it. And
Right. I learned never to ask you why you're frowning.
And there was always,
That's a bad
and just a
idea.
lot of times when they would get to know me, that when you learn that, yes, I ride skateboard. I like pop music. And then there's a lot of judgment on that. So it's just like, that's just the way. There are reasons for everything that I do, and there are reasons why that always gets to me. When I kind of felt like this movie, I wish I had seen that, like 15-year-old or 14-year-old Kahmeela had seen this movie.
Oh,
And
yeah,
just
you'd
been
have a
like-
poster of Malcolm up on your wall for
Right.
sure. Yep. There'd be no white guys with guns or fangs.
No, that's not exactly what I'm saying. But it speaks to me when he talks about, am I a geek or am I a menace? Like, and even just the fact that, yes, he's like 100% geek. And he's just great at it. And you could see that he was able to navigate through. He tried the other world. He was able to navigate through
No,
it
he didn't have a
successfully.
choice. The
Right.
other world tried
No,
him.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, like he was thrown into it, and he was able to navigate it successfully. But he also knows that's not for him. He just wants to go to Harvard
Right.
and just do his thing.
Right. He didn't want to be a gangbanger. He didn't want to have to do any of that stuff. But, even the mentors, the gateway out of the neighborhood, forced him into it. It's kind of interesting
Yeah.
to show that kind of a
It's quite the twist.
hopeless atmosphere around Inglewood. So I guess we need to learn about what the hell's going on in Inglewood, California, for this to still be a relevant movie. What is going on in Inglewood? Dear Lord.
There was also the point where you also see, the kids are finally seeing that they're getting to the finish line of this thing. They go to like some
Their
underground. No, they go to some underground dude to exchange these
Oh, yeah.
bitcoins
Yeah,
into
yeah.
real cash.
Yeah.
And then they finally get, they have to go through like a test for that. But then he comes out, and then dude who's been jumping Malcolm for his shoes
Right.
in school, they just happen to run into him, and he jumps these kids. Him and his gang jumps these kids, and Malcolm has had enough, and he pulls out a gun to the dude and is like, "Give me the fucking money, please." And he even says please, and he's shaking like he's broken. You see, there's this broken.
Well, the
look
guy
in his
that
eyes.
gave him the cash gave him the gun too. He's like, "I'm not letting you go out there without a gun.
Right.
Sorry,
That's
you can't
all.
have $10,000 and no gun."
So
Cash.
and he gets the money back from the dude, and after that, there's even a scene in school where dude tips his hat to him.
Yeah,
and
right,
shows the
right.
receipt. No problems, bro.
Right.
No problems. So yeah, I mean, they go
This-
to prom, and
I guess to a certain extent too, it's like, people talk about privilege or quotas or any of this other kind of crazy crap. It's like, is this what it takes to get a well-balanced meal? Just like a breakfast that's not full of sugar and caffeine, and be surrounded by the environment where if you don't, you're one of the people without a gun on the street, and so you do things you may not want to do because you don't want to get shot.
right.
And like
Right.
just the daily rigmarole of getting home to and having to probably take on adult responsibilities, like so that it's easier for a single mom.
Right.
1,001 other things. Plus, he's got to be a geek. Plus, he's got to deal with all that crap. And, he just, even his counselors weren't necessarily supportive. They're like, who the
No.
hell do you think you are going to Harvard?
Right.
Like really? What kind of guidance counselor are you, hater?
The worst.
Get out of this job, man. Really,
yeah.
it's better to have nobody here and just like a
Yeah.
library self-help section than your ugly ass with your bad attitude. Actually, just the movie Dope would
Just
probably
pop
be
that
fine.
in for some guidance.
And what rated was this? Was this,
I don't know.
because this really actually is a good coming of age movie. Period. In
Yes.
terms of the coming of age movies I've seen, I haven't seen a real relevant one come out in a long time that wasn't too preachy. I think spoke to all ages. I'd be interested to know if young people were into this movie.
I think so. Just also the scene of like who. What am I looking at here?
And by the way, his tutoring skills worked for that girl. She passed the GED. She didn't go to prom with him, but she did get him a ticket to Six Flags afterwards. Still would have been cooler to show up for a dance.
Yeah, I mean, would it have really been that big of a deal?
Keys to your future, one dance. That was the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
That's why you get left in the hood.
would it have been so terrible just to put on a nice dress and go to the prom with him?
Nope.
That's what he wanted. Just because
You went
you
to
were,
Dom's birthday party.
just because she was bummed, like she didn't want to go to her
What'd
prom.
Dom do for you?
He obviously still wanted to go to prom, and I can't find what this movie was rated. I would imagine it's PG-13 because I don't recall too much like terrible language. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of nudity
Oh yeah.
at one point in time when Lily found the drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think this probably did get a nice audience of like their, like high school kids and stuff, just because it's that Pharrell was so attached to it, and the kids today, they like Pharrell, and this is part of his
Empire.
Yeah, the movie was an I Am Other production, and I Am Other was created by Pharrell Williams, and it's a creative venture and a way of life. They're proud to be different and believe that individuality is the new wealth. The shared philosophy flows through each pillar within the company: music, film, television, apparel, tech, and multimedia.
There you
So
go.
you can check out their YouTube channel, and you can go to iamother.com and find out all this cool stuff.
Well, this
that they're
movie was
doing.
spot on then, if that was their mission statement, because it was
Right.
about the life of geeks in a box.
Yes,
Called The
absolutely.
Bottoms.
And also a little fun fact: the guy who kept jumping him for his shoes, his name is Keith Stanfield, who plays Bug in the film, is depicted as a member of the Bloods Gang. In the NWA biopic Straight Outta Compton, Keith portrays Snoop Dogg, a known affiliate of their rival gang, the Crips. Both films were released in 2015 and deals with the themes about early 90s hip-hop music in LA.
There you go.
So, yes, this movie, the soundtrack, again, I love the soundtrack. They have a mix, I think, of like 90s hip hop stuff, but as well as the original music that Pharrell produced and wrote. He wrote the Oreo stuff. And
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, the music was
And did
great.
the music for that.
And the actors that played these three characters just were so expressive. They were so great. They really
Hey, I'm
seemed
looking
to
at
be
this and-
enjoying it.
Yeah. And I just Googled it, sorry. It just so happens randomly. Dope is playing at the Row House here in Pittsburgh,
Oh,
in
really?
Lawrenceville, on February 19th.
On Butler Avenue or Street
Yeah.
or whatever.
So if you're in Pittsburgh and you're going to go and you want to go see it in the theater,
When?
you should do that. February 19th at 2 p.m. if you've got nothing else. If you're not in school or work at that time. Yeah, so it has songs, some old school hip hop like Naughty by Nature, some Digital Underground, Busta Rhymes. But then we also have the new stuff by, there's even Tribe Called Quest on the soundtrack. Yeah, I didn't purchase the entire soundtrack because a lot of the stuff I already owned individually, but I did buy all the Oreo songs. So
Okay. Say it right.
it's Oreo.
Oreo.
It's yes. So shout out again to Pharrell and the kids who actually, those three kids in the movie, they're the ones performing these songs. They are
That's
the
awesome.
fictional band Oreo, which
Oh, that's great.
I really wish they would release
Play
some real
a
music.
tour.
Right?
Yeah, just do a tour of what they got.
Right, exactly. Just go ahead and release
I'm
another
sure
album or something.
Pharrell's got some other stuff laying around that
Yes.
they could play.
How about an I Am Other festival? How about that, Pharrell? Let's do that. Let's get these guys playing their music, Oreo, and I'm sure you've got a million other
What's I Am
projects.
Other Festival?
The
you
production
just-
company that I just talked about,
There you
with
go.
their mission statement with music, film, television, apparel, tech, and multimedia. Come on,
You
son.
could throw that event.
Wouldn't that be an amazing festival?
How
Pharrell,
would the
call me.
producers get a hold of you?
Pharrell, you can reach me at ruggedangel@gmail.com.
There you go.
Please do.
Reasonable rate.
Or you can
Don't ask her why she's frowning.
or you can shout me out on Twitter at @the_ruggedangel. Star rating. How would you rate this film?
1 out of 5.
Yes.
5.
I am going to rate it 4.5 because there are one too many N-words in there for me. That's the only thing that I want to bring it down.
So 4.5.
Yeah.
I would own this movie in Braille.
I would own this movie in Braille.
That's how much I like
That
it.
is an endorsement I've never heard before, but that it gets the point across. It absolutely does. So obviously you're down to watch again.
Yes.
Yes, I am absolutely down to watch it again. We own the DVD, and I think I've watched it at least 4 times in the past few months. Where can you guys watch Dope? Well, like I said, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, go to the Row House Cinemas in Lawrenceville. This coming weekend, February 19th, 20th, I believe it's playing. And it's also streaming on Netflix right now.
Sweet.
And it's also on demand and also on Amazon, I believe, to rent. You can rent it on Amazon. Now, the Bechdel test. If you're not familiar with what the Bechdel test is a type of litmus test to assess the presence of women in movies. The rules of the test are as follows. It has to have at least 2 named women in it. Yes?
Yep.
They need to talk to each other.
Nope.
Nope. As awesome as this film is, it does not pass the Bechdel test. At no point does Diggy talk to Nakia or Mom. I think Diggy and Nakia were the only named. No, and Lily.
Yeah. Does
Not-
Mom count as a name? It used to before everybody just started throwing it around.
What's up, Ma? How you doing, Ma? And, this may be very dated. I don't know what you kids do nowadays, how you approach women. I'm just talking about my personal experiences when I was younger. So, yeah, doesn't pass the Bechdel test. But other than that, still an amazing movie. And I love the soundtrack. And, again, shout out to Oreo. Please tour or something or put out a full Oreo album.
You said it right.
'cause
You're saying it right.
I would like to. I would like to come and jam and rock out
Oreo.
to this concert.
Hell yeah.
So, do you got anything else, Dan? That you
$20
would like
a seat. You make all your money on merch.
You can only they'll accept bitcoins.
Yeah, they will accept Bitcoin. That's right.
So, Dan, if you don't have anything else to add, we're just going to peace out momentarily.
Business. Bitcoin makes a lot of sense right now.
Business, Bitcoin.
Business to business.
Oh.
Say you do a lot of ordering online. Say you've got massive transactions that you can do online. I just don't want a whole market to go down because of what I had to say about Bitcoin. Because I know we attract a unique audience.
And there's that one person
So
that they're just
influential in the
like,
financial community.
We thought for
listened
sure.
to Dan.
We thought for sure.
It was on that dope thing. They said we should put dope into schools.
No, that is absolutely not what we're saying.
He said put the movie in the counselor's office.
Okay, so we're going to check out for now. You can please subscribe, follow, like us. You can follow us on Twitter at DTW Podcast. You can check out Down to Watch Podcast on Facebook. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and SoundCloud, but we are under Rugged Angel Productions, and Rugged Angel is one word, but you also get 3 other podcasts in that feed. Zoned out there for a second. So once again, I'm Kahmeela.
I'm Dan.
And this was Down to Watch, and thank you for listening.
I'll go make the snacks.
How come you don't hear me, ma? Tell me where your hearing went. How you just gonna leave me in this social experiment? Wonder
a toilet bowl. Mama, I want so much shit. Young, black, and I'm on that. Dreams of Americana.